Wrestling podcast never felt this great. Tables, ladders, chairs, they tell it all. From the highest highs to the lowest fall. Grit and glory tales from the ring. Every chant, every cheer they'll bring. Devon and the Duke bring the heat. Wrestling tales knock you off your seat. Tune in now, don't you be late. Wrestling podcast never felt this great.
Brothers and sisters, welcome back and happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Festivus, and all that other good stuff there. Welcome back to the Devon and the Duke podcast, a limited edition series hosted by your main man, Duke Loves Rasslin, and of course, the 5-time Hall of Famer, the 3-time, let me say that again, the 3-time, one more time, the 3-time award-winning podcaster, Brother Devon Dudley. What's going on, brother?
Hey, how you doing?
Listen, I am going to make sure I shout that out for the rest of our lives, bro. I'm telling you, the world needs to never forget that, you know? So,
Hey,
yes.
I love it. I'm not against it.
Hey, you know what?
I'm not against it at all.
If you don't put yourself over, who's going to do it? You know what I'm saying? So that's what
Nobody
it's all
would.
about. That's right. That's right. So listen, man, Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, all that good stuff there, man. How you feeling for the holidays?
Good. I mean, busy like everybody else is. Traveling still. And also trying to get Christmas together.
Yeah, the whole wrapping of the presents, getting everything set in the house, that's got to be tough, huh?
It is. It's tough, but it's doable. We got that magic elf that you can't touch because if you touch him, you lose his power. So I've been driving my daughters insane with this magic elf. They wake up, he's in the bathroom with a toothbrush, leaves a note saying, "Sorry, but I had to use your toothbrush to clean my butt."
Oh, no.
And my daughters find that to be the funniest thing in the world.
That is wild.
Yeah, then last night the other day, me and my lady, we basically had we put aluminum foil over the toilet and put a whole bunch of cereal with the elf sitting on the toilet with a spoon. So my daughter wakes up in the morning, we go to the bathroom, and I videotaped it. She sees it, she loses her mind. She loses her mind. She's like, "What the heck? He's got cereal in the toilet, Dad." I'm like, "What?" You know? And then last night, me and my lady, we took the elf and hung it on the ceiling fan. And it looked like he's at a ride at Universal.
Wow.
Yeah, so all these ideas, we do for them, and it's fun for them. They love it.
How much of this is you incorporating things that bring you back to your own childhood or even things that, I wish I could have done that when I was their age? How much of that is incorporated into what you do for the kids today?
Well, I don't know if it's so much incorporating what I used to do because my childhood was bland. I grew up in the projects in Brooklyn. And, we had, but we didn't have, if it makes any sense. We basically, we had the presents and things like that, but at the same token, we didn't have stuff like this, really creative. And back then, they didn't have stuff like this. So it's a little different, but seeing some of the videos I see with this magic elf and hearing some of the ideas with my lady and stuff, it's like I can sit here and reminisce through it about it, my childhood, but I wish we would have had that growing up because we didn't have that growing up back then.
So it's almost like you get to go back every year to back then because, just as your kids are experiencing it, you're videotaping it and you're putting it together. And more importantly, you're experiencing their joy in that moment.
Yeah, pretty much. And I mean, it's like, and I hate that you tease me all the time every time I bring this up, but it's like Michael Jackson. He never really had a good childhood. So he went out and bought freaking Neverland. He went out and bought animals and, he thought it was Peter Pan and, he wanted to be a kid because he missed his childhood. Now I didn't miss my childhood. I wasn't Michael. I'm not saying I'm Michael Jackson in the sense where I didn't have a good childhood or my childhood escaped me. But there were certain things that I do with my kids that I didn't do growing up. My mother, my mother was pregnant at 15, had me at 16. So she was basically out there busting up behind work. And my grandmother was the fist of the family, which I always said. And she was the one that basically tried to make it normal for me, which in a lot of black homes, the grandmother played the main role model, especially when I was growing up. And my grandmother was my everything. Did she bust my butt? Absolutely. Was she strict? Yep. Was I able to curse in front of her? Heck no. Was I able to, act a certain way, like inappropriate? No. Wasn't playing those games. It was yes, no, ma'am, yes, ma'am. And if she told you to do something, you did it. You didn't do it when you felt like you had to do it. You did it when she told you to do it. If she said jump, you say how high. That's the way she was. And I so love her for that. All these years later, I'm sitting up here and I'm like, yes. I'm like, this is, the discipline that needs to be done into society today. This is why kids are the way they are. There's no respect. They feel like they can do whatever they want and they feel like they're entitled. And that's the part that bothers me the most about today's society. They, in terms of the youth, they think they are entitled, and you're not. You and I in our generation, we had to work for everything. Our parents didn't, pat us on the back or this and that. You didn't come in. You didn't get a trophy if you came in fifth. You didn't get a trophy if you came in fifth, and you had to work your butt off to try to be number one. And that's just the way it was. I think we give we give in too much to today's youth, and I'm not willing to do that.
You sure are not. Because listen, when you do your narrow behind speech, so folks, sometimes I hit Devon. He's like, if you don't get your narrow behind over here, I'm like, I got to get myself together. But I hear that, I'm like, yes, sir. but
Oh,
it's
my twins got the worst of it because they were the first,
sure.
and man, they got drill sergeant Devon or Devon, I should say. They
Listen, they
really
still
did.
laugh about
It
it though,
was
man.
bad.
They laugh
No,
about it.
they do. It was funny because they came up to me a couple of months ago, and out of the blue, my son Terrence called me and said, "Dad, thank you." I said, "Thank you for what? I didn't give you no money. I didn't do anything." He was like, "No, thank you for the way you brought us up. You were hard. You were very strict. But when I see these other kids and how they are, I understand." And it made me feel a certain way, because people thought I was mean and what have you, but I wasn't. I was basically the way society is now. You have to be that way, and that's what these kids don't understand. I miss the '70s and the '80s and the '90s. I miss it, especially the '70s and the '80s. I miss it because that was when the youth had respect for the adults, and you did what you were supposed to do when they told you to do it.
100%. I mean, listen, you're talking to the son of not one but two police officers, so you already
Right?
know, bro. You already
Oh yeah.
know. And those butt whoopings weren't they were nothing to sneeze at now.
No, they weren't.
you know you don't want that big thick leather police belt coming across your backside. You'll straighten up real quick, trust me. you know
Oh, now if you beat your kids, they call it abuse.
yeah, exactly. There's a fine line now, uh but it
As
is
far
what
as
it is.
I'm as far as I'm concerned, if they knew how bad my mother beat me, she'd still be in jail, locked up underneath.
I know
My
one
mother
thing
was
though. Look at you today. It kept you in line.
exactly.
It
Sure
kept you
did.
in line. So
And we have our spats, and my mother's my mother, but that's one thing I will say. I thank her for her hard knocks
damn right.
and the way I grew up. I thank her for it because again, I wouldn't be the person I am if it wasn't for her
No,
and
damn
my
right.
grandmother. And
Yep.
don't get me wrong, my grandmother was loving, but she whooped me, boy. I remember the last beating I got from her. I I was told to stay at a certain area in the park, and I decided that I was going to drift off and um, and go to another side of it. And then I left the park and went to a laundromat that had video games. And I remember me walking there, not thinking anything. And all of a sudden I went, oh my God, the time. And I started walking back to where I was supposed to be. My grandfather pulled up and said, boy, get your behind in this car. And I got in the car and he said, you know you're going to get it when you get home, right? I was like, yeah, but I wasn't going that long. He said, Devon, I'm warning you, when you get home, just know it's coming. Duke, I got in that house. My grandmother had the belt waiting. And when I tell you she beat me from one room to the other, it was, listen, my grandmother would have been at Rikers Island right now serving 15 to 20 if she had did that today. But I was very grateful for it.
Oh shoot, there was no stray shots or wrong place, wrong time, getting arrested. There was none of that for you because she did
No.
that,
hmm And
right?
being that exactly, I was scared to do anything out there in the street. I was scared to get in trouble. And remember, I grew up in Brooklyn. I grew up in the projects, so it was rough for me. My surroundings, my friends, not like my kids today. They grow up in like Bel Air,
Mm.
Fresh Prince of Bel Air type of a setting. They got these friends that, their parents, make six figures, so they live in a good life. My friends, when I was growing up in Brooklyn, their fathers would either pass away because of drugs or they were in jail.
Deep.
So different upbringing compared to how I got, brought up.
Mm.
And that's why I am the way I am.
It's funny. My lady said something to me over the weekend. She said, the thing about Devon, he has a very inquisitive. It's like it's an innocence behind how inquisitive you are about things. Like when we're talking and stuff like that, you want to know more about something, and it's youthful. So it's like, wow, that's really just a good guy. It's hard not to like that person. At the same time, you're this big ass kicking dude with the scar tissue on his head, and it would be a bad day for anybody if they got on your bad side. To maintain the both sides and to be able to carry that so well, it's interesting. You're a very interesting person for that reason. You know what I'm saying? So I thought that
You
was a
know,
good assessment.
let me put it this way, Duke. Everybody knows right from wrong. You know it. And the Bible says at the age of 12, you become an adult. Forget what we say here on the earth as 18, you become an adult. I get why. But biblically speaking, you become an adult and not so much like an adult, like we said at 18, but your way of thinking, your mindset, how you handle things in life, how you conduct yourself as a human being. You know right from wrong. You're not supposed to steal that candy out of the store. You're not supposed to talk back to your parents. You're not supposed to get into whatever confrontation that you cause. You know better, but you do it anyway. And that's where I knew from my grandmother, because remember, my mother was a child when she had me. So she was being raised as well as she's raising me. My grandmother basically just taught me so much. God, I miss that woman. I wish she was still here to this day. Because I'm telling you right now, if she was, she wouldn't have to lift a finger to do nothing. She was so good to me. She protected me. She guided me. She taught me. She did everything there was to do, and then some.
Shout out to grandma. That's deep. And it's this time of year, man. This time of year, we should be reflecting on exactly what we're talking about because the gift giving, the seeing the smiles on people's faces, you making a difference in their lives, especially your children, especially your family. Um, those are also moments for reflection. How did you
hmm
get to the point where you could be that person for somebody else? Well, every time you know you have these moments of reflection, that's honoring those who are responsible for helping you be the person you are today.
Hmm. I mean, I wish, with all my trials and tribulations, I wish she was still here so I can talk to her and she would make sure that I didn't get into that mess. That's just the way she was, you know. My mother did a hell of a job too. Don't get me wrong. I'm not singling her out in no way, shape, or form. But my grandmother was just that type of strong black woman that knew right from wrong and taught me that. I've never been arrested, never been in jail, never done anything where it would cause me to put a tarnish on my name. And I thank God for that. And when you say that sometimes, some people try to do things to make that um happen. Where they want you to put a tarnish on them because they think, oh, you're too good and this and that. No, it's not that I'm too good. I was raised right. That's the bottom line. I was raised right. And I'm not supposed to not look up to that or praise that because I was. I was raised right by that woman.
Damn right. Damn right. To everyone who has been part of the special sauce, the gumbo, the recipe that helped mold both Devon and myself to being who we are today. Just thank you. And again, this time of year especially, we honor you. And we know that you're in a better place, watching. It's like we're your favorite TV show. You get to watch all of your the fruits of your labor continue to grow. And certainly that's exactly what's happening. So
Hmm.
good stuff there. Everybody listening, I know that you can relate. That extends to you as well. So
Absolutely.
absolutely, absolutely. As your favorite three-time award-winning podcasters pontificate about these things, let's get into it, man. Let's get into it. Actually, hold on. Let me hold off on the big stuff for a second because we are going to get into John Cena, Saturday night's main event. We're going to get into all that. Before we get there, though, we went viral again. Tony Maglio being on the show last week from the Hollywood Reporter. Once again, thank you, Tony. Great guy, informative guy, and he definitely would like to come back at some point and update us on what's going on. But breaking news overnight, Warner Brothers Discovery, they have rejected Paramount's offer. So Paramount came in with a hostile takeover and basically offered double the money that Netflix was offering in order to buy WBD. Well, WBD put it out there, and it's breaking news today that they are rejecting Paramount and they want to stick with the Netflix deal. Now, at the same time,
Oh, wow.
Jared Kushner, Trump's son-in-law, he has removed himself from the Paramount side, which was in the process of trying to take over WBD. So if Trump's son-in-law is not in the mix anymore, I think it becomes a little easier for the regulators to approve Netflix buying Warner Brothers Discovery and then splitting up the company into different divisions and things like that. But given everything that we talked about last week, Devon, what do you think about this latest twist and turn, so to speak?
I'm taken back by it.
Yeah.
So let me get this straight. So if that happens, Netflix buys them, anybody wrestling wise that might be on the channels that Netflix inquires might be in trouble. Like we were saying, like AEW, is that correct?
That is correct. I mean, now let me put a caveat. Netflix would not be interested in HBO Max. So
Mm.
HBO Max would be part of its own separate company with a few of the other WBD properties that Netflix is not interested in. So, in theory, that could help AEW. If Tony Khan is willing to make a new deal with them over there, maybe AEW lives to see another day by going with whatever brand new company emerges out of the scraps that Netflix is not interested in that's currently part of WBD. But outside of that, when you look at TNT and TBS and all that, yeah, Netflix is taking all that. CNN, they're taking all that. So
Wow.
yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it shakes, but that's the latest development right now. Nothing is finalized. It is a long process. As Tony Maglio pointed out, it could take a year and a half, 2 years before everything is finalized and we actually see the new company or we see the new version of Netflix that has absorbed WBD if in fact they end up with it. But Netflix becomes a
Well,
little closer to the finish line now.
well, like I said, I mean, we don't want to see we don't want to see AEW go out. I would love to see AEW last. I would love to see them on the TV and give the fans an alternative perspective on pro wrestling. In other words, you got some people that are upset with WWE now because of the whole John Cena thing. And so they can go somewhere else and watch pro wrestling that could be not on the same level, but somewhat considered on the number two company. And they can go out and there's stars there, just like they are in WWE. So they can go out there and enjoy watching another program until they calm down and realize that, certain decisions that are made in the company are made for a reason. I'm not going to get into that now. I'm sure we're going to talk about that later, but, you know, I really want to see AEW prosper. I have friends there. I don't want to see them lose their jobs. I don't want the WWE to have the monopoly. I don't think any wrestling company should have the monopoly. I think it'd be great if AEW can weather the storm if it does hit them like that, bounce back, get a deal, and move forward.
Well said. I agree. 100%. So let's keep our fingers crossed that we continue to have multiple wrestling companies on television in some way, shape, or form. And that includes streaming services. You know what I mean out there, guys. But we have friends in both companies. We do not want to see anybody without a job. So we'll just leave it at that. Speaking of which, one of your great friends, Mercedes Moné, and she's one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. I've made no bones about that through the years. I love the Sasha Banks character, especially. Mercedes Moné stated she is the greatest wrestler from Massachusetts in pro wrestling history. Now, she was taking a shot at John Cena, obviously, but I found that interesting because she's from California. So what the hell is going on with your buddy over there, Devon? Well, why is she trying to claim my state when she's a West Coaster technically?
Well, it might be all part of the show.
Yeah, right.
It's probably something. You see how you're reacting right now?
I'm
She's
pissed.
she's getting underneath your skin, and it might be working.
I'm about to listen. What did Triple H say? I'm about to put together a strongly worded tweet over this. I'm very upset.
That's great.
That's heel stuff, man. Classic heel stuff.
I still call her Sasha. I don't call her the Monet, whatever the other name, her real name. I still call her Sasha when I see her.
Yeah, she's always going to be Sasha. And you know what? Someday she'll be back being Sasha. Mark my words. We got to have it. We got to have Sasha Banks versus Charlotte Flair one more time. Give me a break.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I love her to death. She's a great person. I think some people, mistaking her personality or persona as being a jerk or the B word, but she's just protecting her. She's being her. And why is it okay for men to do it, but if a woman does it, she's the B word? I'm like, I don't get that. But again, this is a cutthroat business, and if that means solidifying that you're the greatest or what have you, and you've done things that would put you in that category, then by all means, sweetheart, say what you got to say. Sasha calls me dad. The relationship that her and I have had when I came into WWE, I don't even know how it got to be that on that level, but She was like, "You kind of remind me of dad, of being my dad." And I was like, "Oh wow." I was like, "Okay, thank you for the compliment." And every time she would see me, she'd be like, "Hey, dad, hey, dad." It was never Devon. It was always, "Hey, dad." And I would say, "Oh, that's my daughter. That's my daughter." Or like when my girls were being born, I said, "Hey, you got another sister." You know, and no, we're not really father and daughter, but again, we had that type of relationship where we were close like that, and she would always say that. So, I love Sasha. I haven't seen her in a while. I haven't seen her since she left WWE. We speak every once in a while. Every once in a while, her and Bailey would go down to the wrestling school when nobody was there and have a workout. And I've always said my door is open to you guys. My doors were always open to any wrestler, whether it be WWE, and I'll say this, AEW, which I've had AEW guys in at the school come in if they need to use my facility. You know, Listen, dirt sheet writers and AEW fanatics, I am not in any way against AEW. I don't like some of the decisions that are made business wise, but that has nothing to do with my feelings on the company as a whole. I just wish it would be better managed. That's all. I think we all feel that way. You know, Everybody thinks I don't like Tony Khan. I dislike him. No, I don't agree with some of the things that were said about me when I went for the 3 meetings with him. I thought that was wrong, and I expressed my opinion. There's nothing wrong with that. For all you diehards out there, if something happened with you where you felt that somebody basically didn't give the right information about a meeting or whatever it was, um, with you and that individual, you would want to defend yourself. And I have every right to defend myself and to say how I feel. So I'm not upset with this man. I just don't like the way business is done over there. And listen, you don't have to like what I have to say. I'm just telling you how I feel. And that's just the way it is. Just like I don't have to listen to what you say, but you have the right to tell me or anybody else how you feel. I don't have to listen, but I would listen because I'm respectful like that. But in no way, shape, or form do I want to see that company go out of business whatsoever or not get a TV deal. I want to see them get a TV deal. I have too many friends over there in that company. I don't want to see them out of work. I don't want to have to see them beg to come back to a company that basically didn't give them what they should have gotten. And now because AEW is not around, they got to go back like crawling on their hands and knees. No, I don't want anybody to have to do that because that's not right.
Agreed 100%. And listen, Tony, tell your lawyers to have a cream soda and calm down, man. I hear you've been sicking them on people. Anyone who says anything about you, you want to get your lawyers involved. I like Mega. I think she's a badass, and I respect her. I don't want no problems, But Tony, we're gonna tell it like it is. If you were to see my resume and see all the industry that I have managed, and see the industries where I've been a consultant, I've done it. I've done it in media. I've done it in government, multiple levels of government. I've done it in aviation. I'm not just some guy when I start talking about this stuff, and you could tell by the quality of the content what I'm talking about when it comes to management. I'm not just some guy running his mouth, some average fan. I'm actually talking about literally the management of the business that you run over there. And when Devon is speaking, he's literally a 5-time Hall of Famer who has worked at the highest level in some of the most successful companies in the history of the industry.
Oh, he was there as a kid in the bleachers watching me, so he
Yeah,
should know.
he should know. So just tell your people, they can have a cream soda and calm down, as Big Vito would say, because there's nothing that we're saying that is inappropriate with that. And we want you to continue to live another day because we need our friends to continue to have jobs. So let me start there. The other thing is, for anyone out there who wants to criticize Mercedes Moné as a human being and her attitude and all that stuff, I just encourage you to check out WWE Chronicle Sasha Banks. So that was episode 12 of that WWE Chronicle series. It originally aired on August 10th, 2019. So you can see it on the network. You could probably find it on YouTube. It's even on Apple TV. So it's everywhere. You could find it. But that was when she took some time off and she came back And it was eye opening because she talked about the mental health challenges she was dealing with and how for 7 years she hadn't even heard her real name. No one was even calling her real name, and how the identity crisis she was going through and things like that. All you got to do is watch that documentary because we don't know her personally like Devon does. Just watch her that one little documentary, 45 minutes. And I guarantee you it'll change what you think you know about her, and it will explain why she has to carry herself the way that she does. Because we will just steamroll this woman, this once in a lifetime talent who we act like she owes us so much, when in reality, she goes out, she does her job to the highest level, and then she should be able to go home and live her life. So I'll just leave it at that. Check it out, and then, maybe that'll adjust the way that you view her. Anyway, Saturday night's main event. Everyone is talking about it. I want to start from the beginning, and then I want to get to the end. Obafemi versus Cody Rhodes. Now, the night before on SmackDown, Obafemi cut a promo on Cody where he let him know, the future's in front of you, and just like John Cena said, your time is up and my time is now. That's what he said to Cody. And I could just tell the look on Cody's face. He realizes this blue chipper right here. This young kid is smoking, man. He's. I wish I had what he had when I was at that stage of my career. He's looking at Cody at Obafemi, realizing, oh yeah, you really are all that. There's no question. So now we get to Saturday night's main event. And Cody is in the ring after first of all, Cody Rhodes, the champion. Now, it wasn't a championship match, but Cody Rhodes, the champion, it
wasn't title for title,
match.
Correct?
It was not title for title. No, this was just a match. He comes out first, Cody. So he has to wait for Obafemi to come to the ring, the NXT champion.
Right.
And Obafemi, when he came out, and he did his strut, he looked like He looked like $1 billion. He looked like the baddest, unstoppable force that ever existed on the planet. And surprisingly, Devon, I don't know if you noticed this, the fans were cheering Oba, and half the building was booing Cody.
I didn't notice that because I wasn't listening. Because I again, when I spoke to you off the air, I said I started watching it, and then I got pulled away. I didn't hear that, but he's a star. Oba is a star, and his strut to the ring, I love it. The bouncing, the bopping, I absolutely am a big fan of it. Nice guy too. You talk about a gentle giant. He is a gentle giant. That's a big man. That is a big man.
For you to say somebody's a big man, he must be a big man.
That is a big man. Listen, I'm glad I'm retired. I ain't got to feel that. I'm glad I'm retired. He's a very nice guy. He's a student of the game, and he wants it. He's from Nigeria, and again, he talked about his backstory, the whole nine, and he's just a pleasant person to be around. He's a very entertaining person, and it really is good.
Man, my lady looked at him, and I've shown her Oba, so she's been watching it and what have you. And here in Boston, we have a very strong Nigerian community, and we're connected to them. I have been involved with the African festival that we do here in Boston, helping them with their permitting, finding the proper locations to do it. I've been to countless galas and what have you. We did the International League of Cities, where we had leaders from all over different parts of the continent come here to Boston, and let's talk about international trade and doing business with each other and things like that. I say that just to say we're very respectful and adjacent to the culture. It is all of our culture when we go back to our history, and our DNA and things like that. So to see an African man representing Africa, Nigeria, strutting to the ring like that, looking like $1,000,000 and getting cheered as loud as anyone all night, man, it brought a tear to my eye. I'm not going to even kid you. It brought a tear to my eye. My lady was like, that is the best. Like she said, I'm not a big wrestling fan like you. I'm just learning it. But she said, but that
Right.
guy right there, that presentation, that will make me watch the show.
Well, here's another thing you have to understand. He has charisma, and not too many people his size has charisma and can do the things that he do. He's really, really entertaining. And again, the future is really, really wide open for him. And it's again, I see him making it up on the main roster very, very quickly.
Same. I have to tell you, Devon, I'm a little disappointed that they're not giving him the Lesnar slash Goldberg treatment yet. Because in my
Well,
opinion,
well, hold on. I know what you're gonna say, but understand this: he has to, he has to not so much prove himself, a little bit of proving himself, but he also has to get that he has to get those matches behind him. He has to really build up the momentum to get that. I mean, remember Brock when Brock first came in, he had to prove he was a beast, but he had to prove himself.
true, true. But by the time he got to the main roster, they put him with Heyman right away.
Right. So who would you put him with?
Oba?
Heyman's already in the yeah. If you need to put him
That's a
with
good
somebody that would
question.
bring him to put him to that next level, because Heyman is already with his crew. Who do you have like another Heyman that can come in and do for him what Heyman did for Lesnar?
I'll tell you right now. That Robert Stone, and you know him, Robbie E. He was Robbie E
Yeah,
in TNA. That
yeah,
Robert Stone, because he can take bumps, I think he'd be perfect.
yes. I think he would be good.
Because
I
he
mean,
can take bumps,
I'm
you
surprised
know?
he's not wrestling.
Yeah, well, I mean, the managing thing is working for him. I mean, as a personality, they're having him do stuff in TNA. He's NXT. He's NXT Evolve. They got the guy busy as hell. But
Which is
take a
good.
take a guy like that, and you can. It's too bad Teddy Long is. Teddy Long can't do the traveling and stuff like that. Teddy Long would have been perfect for Oba.
Oh, Teddy Long would have been great. You got to
Yeah.
look at it in the aspect of what he did for Rodney Mack and
Oh God.
his wife and Christopher Nowinski, Jazz, that combination, Jazz, Rodney Mack, and Christopher Nowinski was great.
The white boy challenge is more over today than it was back then.
Hmm.
I got
It really
kids
was.
sharing that all the time and asking me about like, what was this? This is great. And I'm like, man, and Teddy, I mean, he could cut a promo like nobody else, you
I
know?
was watching something on
So
IG.
yeah.
I was watching something on IG, and it was the Slickster and Kamala. Kamala was doing his thing, with the mask on. Slick is putting him over, and this and that. And I guess he must have broke up with Kimchi and got with the Slickster, because I know the Slickster was burying Kimchi,
Yeah.
wrestling wise, work wise, of course. But
Yeah. Yeah.
I was reading some of the comments because nowadays to do a gimmick like Kamala would be considered racist
Sure.
and would not be tolerated in today's society. And I was reading some of the comments, and some of them were from African Americans saying, "Man, this gimmick was great back in the day. They actually had me believing he was from, the deepest parts of Africa when he was from Mississippi."
Yeah. It's
Because
true.
Kamala played that part very, very well.
Yeah.
And a lot of African Americans, they were like, they missed those days of people like Kamala. Kamala got over back then, and although that this is racist even back then, but still the majority of people accepted it as a gimmick,
Yeah.
and they didn't
Yeah.
look at it as in that way. So, and again, this is the way society is, nowadays. You have to be very, very careful because again, you take things a little too, and it's racist, and it's like blah blah blah. This is why I used to love watching shows like All in the Family and The Jeffersons, and even somewhat Sanford and Son that did the same thing. Archie Bunker. of course, stone cold racist, but yet they portrayed it as him being a racist, but yet always getting it in the end,
Yes.
getting his just due. Especially the whole episode with him and Sammy Davis Jr. When
Perfect.
Sammy, you take a picture, you got it, you ready? Okay, say cheese, cheese, and Sammy
This is
kissed him. And it was the funniest episode in the world, and then, oh God, the expression on Archie Bunker's face was priceless. And
yes.
even the studio audience couldn't stop laughing, and
Yeah.
it's stuff like that that just got over back then, because they took racism and tried to make it to the point where, we don't want people to feel sad or whatever, go through what they're going through. Let's just try to make a joke out of it. And not in a bad way when I say make a joke out of it, but it's like we need some type of humor instead of so much anger built up toward it. Let's turn it against the racist, have him come off as being racist, but then have the racist get his in the end. And that's how it really worked, even with the Jeffersons. You know,
Absolutely.
I never heard the word honky before until I saw the Jeffersons, and when George
Yep.
would say it, and I think that's how that derogatory remark got over. Um, Back in the 70s and 80s because the Jeffersons did it and they said it, but George would always put his foot in his mouth and get in trouble. And that's the way, they made it acceptable back then. That I watch TV One, I watch BT. There's another one, I think it's Glow. I just found it out on the new stations where they play nothing but those shows all day long, and I watch them all day. And again, it's I just miss that type of TV.
Same. Same. And you just made me realize. Let me throw this on you. If Roman Reigns and the Usos and the Bloodline, if they are the evolution of the Wild Samoans, isn't Obafemi the evolution of Kamala?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I mean, he's from Nigeria. I get it, but remember, Kamala couldn't speak. Oba could speak, and his
Evolution.
present, yes. But I also feel that the way he is in the ring is totally different from Kamala. I
Sure.
remember watching him in Madison Square Garden. It might have been against Hogan, where he did a leapfrog, and it was like, whoa,
Yeah.
you
Kamala could
know,
work. Yeah, he could
Kamala
work.
could work. But if you
Yeah.
saw Oba do that, it was like, okay, it's very impressive because he's a big man, but it's not like we would sit there and go, oh, I didn't think he could do that. He's athletic. He can.
Yeah. Yeah, true.
Kamala didn't look the athletic part, but believe it or not, Kamala was athletic and could
But
go.
hold on. Hold on, though. I got to press you on this one because the Usos and Roman do not look like the Wild Samoans from a physical standpoint. The Wild Samoans, they weren't all muscled up.
No, but the Wild Samoans looked exactly like their name, Wild Samoans.
Yes.
you know, and especially when they would take the raw chicken, and freaking bite it and eat it and spit it out. It was like, okay, my God, who does that?
Who does that?
Who
Salmonella
does
and
that?
everything. Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
But
Yeah.
Afonseca didn't care. They did it and they made it
They
popular.
did it. Yep.
They did a
Yep.
hell of
And
a
they made
job.
money.
They
Yep.
made money. They made money around the world, not just
Yep.
WWE, but everywhere. And The Rock's grandmother, as we've seen the TV show The Rock that The Rock had, um, he basically told that story how Afonseca was with her when they did the promotion down there with The Rock's grandmother, and how
Yeah.
over they got over there.
Yep. Yep. That's true.
So it wasn't just
That's true.
WWE that they got over; they got over everywhere.
They were the real deal. Just like Kamala. Kamala got over. He was in Texas. He was huge because he had Gary Hart as his manager down in
Yes, I
Texas.
remember. Yep.
And now listen. Imagine Obafemi having Gary Hart as his manager.
Oh, forget it.
Shoot.
How about Jerry
You know?
Blackwell?
Oh my God. Oh my God. Now you're really going back. Now you're really going back. But so, to wrap up that part though, Oba looks like $1 million. He's going to be a huge star. I hope he and Cody eventually have a feud, and I want Cody to be in trouble. I want the tears rolling. I want the crowd to feel like Cody might die because of what Obafemi's going to do to him. It just, you can print money with something like that, and that's what's missing in the entire industry today. We don't have enough of the baby face being in that kind of danger, and I don't understand why we can't get there. You know what I mean? We used to ball our eyes out when our heroes lost matches, and it just
Well,
no one is in that kind of danger anymore, Devon.
well, here's the deal. Point in case, John Cena.
Yeah,
Moving forward, not to get off of Cody and Oba, but John Cena. Listen,
yeah.
people get mad all they want. I was listening to Busted Open, and they brought up so many good points. And again, that first 15 minutes of Gunter being in the ring on Monday Night Raw, man, if he didn't beat Cena or do what he did, guess what? It just would have been another guy that faced Cena on his, and it just happened to be his last match and he lost. You needed that. Gunter needed that, because, the story is, here it is. Gunter's going to be there Monday night. Gunter's going to be there for years to come. Cena will not. So what do? Oh, well, he's never given up. He's never tapped out. His thing was always never give up. Okay, but now Gunther goes down in history as the guy that made Cena tap, that made him give up. And that's a huge notch underneath Gunther's belt. And now he's going to be one of the top heels in the WWE. That made him. So it's not F Triple H because he took your emotions and snatched it from underneath you and made you cry. That's what he was supposed to do. That was the whole thing. You honestly think that if John Cena did not approve of what Hunter or whoever wrote that story did, you don't think he would say no? He's in a position where he didn't have to do that. Listen, I don't agree with you guys, man. I don't want to do that. Well, John, you have to do it. No, I don't. And I quit. I don't want to wrestle anymore. I'm well off. I go back to Hollywood. I'm fine. You explain to the people why I'm not going to be here tonight. No, he could have taken a stand. Not that John would do that, but he could have taken a stand if he didn't want to. John did it because he agreed with it. So stop hating on the WWE or Triple H. Oh, Devon's just a kiss ass for the company because of whatever. No, I'm not. I'm thinking business wise. I went from talent to a producer. When I went to a producer, I started understanding how things work and why you have to do things now to get ready for later. I understood it now. Vince taught me a lot. Hunter taught me a lot. Michael Hayes taught me a lot. Michael Rotundo taught me a lot. All of those guys taught me to understand the business aspect of pro wrestling as opposed to being a fan or a mark, so to speak. I'm sure you wanted John Cena to win. I'm sure you wanted him to go out, as the Long Ranger on top. I get that. But sometimes you don't get what you want. That old song, you don't get what you want. And it's the truth. Not to mention, it makes sense. So here it is. John Cena beats him. He goes off into the sunset. Where's Gunter? What do you do with Gunter now? He lost. He's such a huge hand in that company. He's so good that now you kind of hurt him if he loses. Because where do you go from there? But him beating Cena, having that underneath his belt, making him tap, oh my God, it's huge.
So here's what I'll say to that, and I can only speak as a fan. You've been a fan. You've been a Hall of Famer. You've been a producer. You're a trainer. You have a wrestling school. So I can't negate anything that you've said from your perspective because you're absolutely right. As a fan, I think that they blew it, not because Cena lost, but because it wasn't climactic enough. And I don't necessarily know how they could have done it better. For me personally, I wish the match that Cena had with Dom at Survivor Series was his last match, because I think that would have been perfect. The fans would have been happy, even though Cena lost that match. We know that Dom is going to be the biggest star in the industry within the next couple of years, so it makes sense. I would have been okay with that, and Dom didn't win clean, which is even better. Gunter making Cena tap out that way. Here's where it will pay off. Gunter has to make Randy Orton tap out and retire him. He has to make AJ Styles tap out and retire him. He has to make Brock Lesnar tap out and retire him. If Gunther defeats the next series of legends, now it makes sense for me as a fan, because now at the same time you need to build up that super baby face, and it's not going to be Cody Rhodes. It might be Dom, but it's not. It might be Braun Breaker. It might be Obafemi. It's not going to be Cody Rhodes. But you need to build up that super baby face who can take this legend killer, the new legend killer, and finally best him. Gunther shouldn't lose another match for the next 2-3 years. He must remain undefeated because he just beat the greatest of all time. You cannot ruin that. Just like what they did with Lesnar when Lesnar beat The Undertaker. You have to give this guy the world and build him up to be the most unstoppable force we've ever seen, so that when he finally loses, you make the next person. So that's all I'll say to that. I think it's like you're saying, it's long term, but brother, we're at the beginning stages of this long term, you know?
Listen, just like this whole year went so fast, that'll go fast. Trust me.
Yeah.
Right stories building up, people paying attention. It'll go fast, and I think you'll see. I think everybody should just relax and sit back. Listen, as a fan in the 70s and 80s, we weren't smart to the business the way we are now as fans. We didn't know. There was still speculation on if wrestling was real or not. So, we weren't smart the way we are now. And it's like we all think we know everything at this point in stage of the game. But I'm just like, no, I want to go back to the day when I cried because somebody lost a match that meant so much to me. And, I had to heal, so to speak, get over the fact, that they lost. Like, for instance, Hogan and the Warrior.
Oh, yeah.
I was a huge Hogan fan, of course, and I liked the Warrior, but no, I was pissed off when he dropped the title of the Warrior. I was pissed, upset, mad. Hell, let's go back even further. 1988, February, Saturday night's main event. Ironic. Hogan versus Andre, the double referee. I swore that I would never watch pro wrestling again. That's how upset I was when that happened. I went upstairs, laid down, I cried. I basically, I was done. I was done with pro wrestling. I could not believe that DiBiase did what he did and paid to have a referee look like Earl Hebner. Like Hogan said, look at the money falling out of his pocket. Oh my God, and as a kid, I believed that. So I understand when you're talking about the kids crying and this and that, but guess what? They will get over it. They will get over it and realize as time goes on, it's a show. We all went through that as fans, and I'm speaking of the adults. We all, there was always, if you watch pro wrestling for as long as whatever, you always knew that there was somebody in a match that you loved that got beat that hurt you so bad that you started crying. They'll get over it, but these grown-ass adults, oof, man, to have Gunther be escorted out to his car, after that match was over, that is heat. That is real good heat. But again, where do you go from there if John didn't tap out? His motto is, I don't give up. Never tap out. Now Gunther will go down as being one of the guys that tapped out Cena and beat him. He has that underneath his belt. He's got that on his resume. And guess what? It will boost him sky high. I said the same thing about...
He's got to beat everybody. He's got to beat everybody, Devon. He has to.
Okay, yes, but... Okay, I see where you're coming from on that standpoint. But again, when The Undertaker fought Brock Lesnar, who would be the one to break the streak? And there was so many people that came to mind, but it was like after you said these other people other than Brock, where do they go from there? Do they have that much power, star power, to do something like that? And the answer was no. So when Brock beat Undertaker, it was like, why would you let Brock beat the Undertaker? He's already a made man, this and that. Who else could you get to beat the Undertaker, and that would be believable. One of the things I also liked was the way Michael Cole said pro wrestling killed the entertainment in pro wrestling.
Yeah.
In other words, Gunter being a pro wrestler, Cena being the entertainer, he killed him. He done.
Yep.
Boom. Gone. See you later. Because again, Cena's not coming back on Monday, but guess who's coming back? Gunter. And you would have never gotten that response from Gunter, from the people, if he didn't do what he did. So for those that sat there and cried, cry. Be emotional about it. You have every right to be. It's pro wrestling. We want to pull your heartstrings. We want to do that. But don't sit there and say Triple H sucks and this and that because you didn't like the ending of it. The hell? It's business. God, I just don't get it. I don't get it. It's entertainment. Damn it, people. You watch your favorite TV shows. You don't like it when a certain heel in the TV show gets over on the baby face. And I say that because everything is like pro wrestling wise. Another prime example, and I'm going to give him credit where credit is due. Bubba. Bubba said this, and everything is Star Wars to Bubba.
Mm.
He puts everything towards the movie Star Wars. And this thing between Gunter and Cena, he said, right. Do you remember the first episode? No, not the first episode. It was the first Star Wars back in 1977 that put Star Wars on the map. You have Obi-Wan Kenobi. You have Luke Skywalker. We get to see the relationship between those two. Now we get to see how he's the mentor, Obi-Wan Kenobi, of Luke Skywalker. And of course, remember, Obi-Wan Kenobi was the one that trained Vader. And until the Dark Lord took over and corrupted his mind. And please, Star Wars fans, don't get on me if I'm wrong. I don't think I am, but please, yeah, I know how you guys are about this movie. So please. But then you look at it was, remember they were fighting. They were on a death ship waiting to get Princess Leia. They had to rescue Princess Leia from Darth Vader. And they're going around shooting the stormtroopers. Stormtroopers going after Han Solo, Luke Skywalker, and Chewbacca. And they're trying to get away. Meanwhile, Obi-Wan Kenobi is on the ship looking for Princess Leia. He's looking for her. But who does he run into? Vader. They have their final match against each other. And they start going, they're going. And then all of a sudden, he hears Luke Skywalker, because Luke sees this and he wants to run over there, but he doesn't. And he goes, Obi, and he looks over. Obi stops, looks over, and realizes, okay, it's not for me to beat Vader. He has to beat him. I got goosebumps just thinking about it right now. And he takes the sword, he puts it to his face. Vader sees that and goes to swipe, and Obi-Wan is gone. He went to Obi-Wan heaven or wherever they call that. But you see what I'm saying? Is like Luke had to be the one to end Darth Vader, not Obi-Wan Kenobi. Even though Obi-Wan Kenobi created Vader when he was a young boy and was mentoring Luke. Do I make sense?
100%. I'm with you. Yeah, I know it.
Yeah, so that's the way I looked at it. He had to beat Cena the way he did. Whether it felt a little flat because of the tap, maybe he should have put him in some type of hold better than the rear chin lock, and maybe he should have beat him in a much harder way to make him tap. But the fact of the matter is, he tapped.
I agree with everything that you're saying under one condition.
Mm-hmm.
It only works if Gunther beats other legends too. Now he already retired Goldberg, so it looks like that's what they're going to do. He just needs to get a couple more under his belt. You don't beat the greatest of all time and then lose to some ham and egger in a couple of months. That doesn't make sense. Respectfully, I'm not trying to say that whoever is good enough to beat a guy like Gunther is a ham and egger. I don't mean to disrespect anybody, but if Cody Rhodes beats Gunther in the next year, it's going to piss me off. It's going to piss me off if that happens. Okay? I want this guy to go on the run of a lifetime for the next couple of years again. And during that time, you build up that next big baby face. Because what made Brock Lesnar defeating The Undertaker okay is the fact that when it was time, Brock lost to Roman. And then Brock still had enough cachet that when he lost to Cody, it was okay. Like it made those guys. So in the end, it made the Undertaker defeat okay. You got to do the same thing with Gunther. Gunther has to go on a tear. No one can beat him. No one can put him in danger. He is just the baddest man on the planet until the big baby face finally gets him.
It's if you think about it, also, it's almost like Randy Orton. Randy Orton was considered what? The giant killer?
The legend killer.
No, that was Spike, the legend killer. He took on when he spit in Harley Race's face. That was like a huge slap right there. You don't spit in Harley Race's face.
And that was his mentor, by the way.
That was like heat right there. Exactly. So, it was like, wow. And you built Randy up to be the legend killer. And anybody who was a legend, would get in there with him and he would beat him. I think you can go the same route storyline-wise with that. I think you probably can. And then who's to say that the WWE is not going to do that? I'm sure they're smart enough to know this.
Triple H, you know how I feel about you. Devon might love you, but you're always going to be new Coke to me. You taste okay, you're flashy, but you're not better than the original.
Wow.
Vince McMahon is Coca-Cola Classic, and he will always be. That's the guy that made me fall in love with pro wrestling. Triple H, you're new Coke. Now, you can become Coke Zero, which Coke Zero is a good alternative. You can become Coke Zero if you handle this Gunther situation properly. That's what I'll say to that. You handle this properly. He beats the other legends because AJ Styles is going to retire. Brock Lesnar is going to retire. Both of those guys are going away over the next year. If you do that,
is this the year of retirement?
Yeah, man, it is. Unless you dust off your boots,
Good God,
it is.
Hell no, no. You always try to sneak one in every episode. No.
Listen, forget about Gunther. I want to see a Devon Dudley versus Obafemi. I want to see what's going to happen with that. You
don't like me, do you? I can tell you don't like me.
What is it that Oba's a legend in the NCAA? He's a shot put legend. Can you imagine if he picks you up and try to throw you like one of them shot puts?
I look out for you all the time. I do. I try to help you out whenever you call me, whenever you want to talk. You want to meet up. I say, let's go to Kowloon's or what have you. And you're going to treat me like that. You're going to put me in the ring with that man.
Listen.
No.
It'll be the biggest match in both of your careers.
Don't get any ideas. Yeah, why? Because I'll stop breathing?
Man, we better get out of here before we get in trouble. Call me. I'll be setting up over.
I used to say this. I used to get in the ring with the Godfather and Bo Buchanan, who were huge men. Bo Buchanan, muscle bound, whatever. Godfather being as big as he is. And even when they would tap me, it hurt. They weren't stiff, but they were so big and strong that regardless, they hurt. And so it was one of those things where I was like, okay, I knew that my body had to be on point if I was getting in the ring with him. Listen, my body ain't on point to be in the ring with that man. You are not killing me.
There isn't a drop of enhancement in that body. That is sculpted by God. That Obafemi body right there.
That's all natural. That's all natural.
Shoot. That is man strength right there.
I would be surprised if he was on anything. Because he doesn't have the body that looks like that.
It's all natural. That is just real. He has a strongman body is what he has. He has a strongman body.
Yep, he sure does.
And he don't need to get rid of it. So, some of these people, he needs more abs. I'm like, no, he doesn't. For what? For what? He looks like the real deal. We'll leave it at that. Anyway, John Cena, congratulations on your retirement. It broke my heart. It broke my heart to see the look on his face because I could tell that John felt like, man, did we really disappoint these fans? and that was unfortunate because he didn't do anything wrong. But what a career, man. I booed him. I cheered him. I learned to respect him. No one has carried a company as long and as efficiently as John Cena, especially during some of the most challenging economic times that our whole nation has ever experienced. The world, really. John Cena was able to keep things together. And I'll say this, the company wouldn't be where it was at today if we did not have a John Cena during those years. Is that fair to say?
That's definitely fair to say. Without John, it would be. I agree.
Because you needed somebody who was that much of a baby face to be a constant. You needed it. During the time, you always wanted somebody else, and why does he and Super Cena and all this? You know what's funny? Real quick, the fans were chanting Super Cena towards the end of that match. They wanted Cena to just win because that was always the knock. Oh, Super Cena, he always beats everybody. No one can beat Super Cena. So the fact that in the end, in his last match, the fans are actually chanting Super Cena because it's like, you son of a gun. If there was ever a chance for you to win, you better win this match.
Right.
That was pro wrestling, man. That was pro wrestling right there. But again, thank you, John. We appreciate you, bro. And
yes,
you can let go now. You could definitely let go now. Anyway, Devon, what's the best way everyone can keep up with you and all that good stuff?
Yes, I got the YouTube channel that's on YouTube, Devon Dudley YouTube channel, Instagram at Testify Devon, and Testify Devon on Twitter. Don't go on Twitter as much. I only do it to advertise, but I do check the instant messengers or whatever you want to call the messenger on Twitter. I do check the messages on Instagram. I do get involved and talk to the fans and things like that. So please, by all means, hit me up, like, and subscribe to the YouTube channel, and let's go from there.
As always, folks, Duke Loves Rasslin on Facebook, on Twitter, dukelovesrasslin@gmail.com. Let me know what you think of the show. Keep sending in your questions and comments. Keep sharing Devon and the Duke. I really appreciate that. Programming alert. Yes, I owe you an International Duke Day episode. I think I'm going to wait until next week since we're going to be going into Christmas. We'll see what happens with the scheduling with Devon and I for next week. So if we don't get a Devon and the Duke, you'll definitely get a Duke Loves Rasslin special episode just to give you something while you're making your holiday meal and all that good stuff. With that said, my brother, what do you got for our word of the week?
Oh, man. Word of the week. Have a Merry Christmas.
Testify.
Testify.
Strictly for the culture every day. Step in style in your unique way. Patterns and colors so divine. All about the perfect line. Be yourself, let your spirit fly. In this fashion, you'll touch the sky. Strictly for the culture, brand so fine. Dress to impress and show your shine. Strictly for the culture, every day. Step in style in your unique way.
Visit www.strictlyfortheculture.ca.
Backstage whispers and the crowds roar. From matching giants to legends of yore. Devon's wisdom and Duke's keen view. Every episode feels like it's brand new. Devon and the Duke bring the heat. Wrestling tales knock you off your seat. Tune in now, don't you be late. Wrestling podcast never